Okay, in this video we'll learn how to mark up large blocks of text and see how that markup is being rendered by the browser. Let's start by looking at text that has no markup. The HTML file that you see here is named constitution.html. For my students, this is the required assignment for week 3. The content of the body section shows that there is no markup. When we look at that file in Live Server, all we see is a long blob of text. Nothing is wrong here. The browser is doing its job. By default, all browsers will ignore tabs, blank lines, and comments that it finds in the HTML file. For example, look in the HTML file on lines 15 and 17. People can see that those two small strings of content span across 3 different lines. However, when we look at that content in the browser, those 2 words appear side by side. A browser will be happy to render our content the way we want it to look. And in order to do that, we have to include HTML markup tags in the browser. A standards compliant browser will look at our markup tags and then assign whatever font size or margins might be required. For example, line 11 contains what we want to mark up with an H1 element. The H1 element will tell the browser that this is the most important content on that page. I'll also go ahead and mark up the first paragraph in the document with P tags. This will help us to see how the browser engine renders our content based on the tags it receives. When I save the file, watch what happens to that content in the browser window. Notice that the browser made the H1 element appear quite different from the paragraph. Both have space above and below, but notice the differences in font size and boldness between them. The browser is using some default settings it knows about to assign these differences between the H1 and P tags. Let's go back and mark up the long blocks of content in the Constitution that are identified as articles. There are 7 articles in the Constitution, so let's start with Article 1. I'll start on line 5 where Article 1 begins. I'll copy everything from line 15 to line 141 where the article ends. After the contents of Article 1 are selected, I'll use the Control-Shift-A shortcut to open the Emmet abbreviation field. I'll type ARTICLE, press Enter to cause Emmet to put the opening and closing tags around Article 1. After I save the file, I can select the text in the browser window and scroll down to see what the browser does with an article tag. You can see that there is now some white space separating Article 1 from Article 2. The browser is showing us that the article element creates some structural layout to our content. So far, we have seen 3 ways that a browser places structural layout and adds meaning to our content. Let me show you how to start using the Developer Tools feature that browsers use to show us what they are doing with our content. Press F12 to open Developer Tools. The browser's Developer Tools pane is very powerful. We will mostly use only the Styles and Computed tabs that you see at the bottom of the pane. In the area above these tabs, you can see the markup tags that I've placed in the constitution.html file so far. You can see the doc type declaration up on line 1 and the opening HTML element on line 2. The closing HTML element tag is found at the bottom of the file. The head section is shown but does not contain any content that appears in the browser, except for the title that's shown in the Browser tab. If I click on the body tags, it will unfold to show us the tags and content that are contained in the body section of that page. If I hover over the H1 element in Developer Tools, you can see that it will highlight the content of the H1 element in blue. Margins are shown in the peach-colored areas. You can see the same color highlights when you hover over the paragraph tag. When I click on the article tag, you can see the blue highlight, but no peach-colored areas. This is simply because the browser is not assigning any margins to this area. You can toggle the Developer Tools off by pressing F12 again. I'll go back now and mark the other 6 articles of the Constitution with article tags. Be careful with Article 7. It only has one paragraph, and that paragraph contains only one sentence. After I save the HTML file, I'll highlight and scroll down through the page to look for structural breaks that the browser has placed between each of these sections. You can see that there are clear breaks in the browser for each article. If you go back to the Developer Tools, you can see the 7 article tags that I've just created.